It is day 114 of 365 days of remembering. And today I'm going to walk and talk. I'm out in the forest again on the trail, getting some fresh air, walking around. And what I'm going to talk about today is I'm going to talk about the idea of questioning and how important it is within our spiritual expansion. And also, just even for those people that you know that maybe aren't on a spiritual path, to just, what does it mean to be able to entertain different possibilities, to be able to engage with other ideas, to be able to play in that and not need to make sort of a concrete conviction that one thing is true over another. And I've done another video where I dive into this a little bit called, I think it's called Every Truth is Equally Valid, but I will put the icon up there so that you can see it and the title, and put the link in the comments in case you wanted to check that one out, because it touches on the same subject. And what I mean by this is questioning has been such a big deal in my life, questioning who I am and why I'm here, and why I felt this deep yearning for a connection with myself that seemed different than other people, and why I always felt different. I often felt like I didn't even belong here, that I was from another planet. I've recently discovered that that's because I'm an empath, though I always kind of didn't really know what that was or identify with it, but it just makes so much sense now. So questioning has been really pivotal in my own expansion, in my own journey as a spiritual being, and coming into more full remembering of who I am. I mean, if we didn't question and we just accepted what we were told, I would guess that most of us wouldn't be on a spiritual path. I mean, most of the things that we are engaging in, that we're thinking about, most of the things that take us to more empowerment and more enlightenment, that connect us deeper with our inner being, is based on questioning, especially within the collective that we live right now. We can't just take their word for it. We have to question. And so what are the limits with questioning? And what I've been discovering is part of why I came was to really stand in truth and to embody truths that are not being embodied by the collective, but to stand in them anyway. And I'm going to tell you that that's slightly uncomfortable. And, I've been looking up this stuff about German medicine, which talks about how they discovered, Louis Pasteur discovered germ theory, developed germ theory, and that became the basis of the medical model with which we live today. But it was founded in the late 1800s. It was never 100% proven. And now here we sit in this state of lockdown and a little bit of chaos based on a theory that may or may not be true. And there was other theories that were promoted at the same time, like theories that we have a lot of microbes in our body, and we also have information packets, so to speak, in our body that are triggered by different emotional responses that we have. Things like fear or sadness or anxiety. When we experience those emotions, they trigger a writing in the body to help fix the emotional response or discord that we're having. And we have decided to perceive that as illness. But it's just a natural state of being. In fact, by the time you have the experience of the sickness, like feeling the symptoms, you're already into the healing phase. So I'm not going to say whether it's true or not, because how could I absolutely know that? But it's interesting to consider other possibilities. It's also interesting to note that we as a collective, for the most part, have decided to pick one theory, like the theory of evolution, and just put all our eggs in that basket and decide forevermore that it's going to be true, and get really, really amped up when someone else wants to question it or consider the possibility that it might not be true. It's just interesting, because to me as a being, my experience has been key to everything is expansion. Like, I want to be constantly expanding. And I don't know if you're familiar with Bentinho Massara's teachings, but one of the things he talks about is, as a spiritual being, not coming to conclusions, like sort of sitting in that place of like, everything is equally valid and true. And I can hold all different kinds of things simultaneously. Like, I can be a being of love and light that's just energy, but I can also be expressing in a body. How could I do both of those things? It seems almost paradoxical. Or I can choose to give something a whole lot of meaning consciously, but I can also recognize that the meaning is optional, and I don't have to choose that. I can retell stories. There's just many, many notions around the concept of meaning being optional. So in playing with that, it frees us. And questioning just enables us to consider truth and consider our own truth. Like, I guess I think that there's probably some bigger truths, some sort of overarching truths. Like for me, it's like I am a being of love and light. Ultimately, I'm energy in a body. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I mean. How can you hold a truth, but hold it gently? Not so that it doesn't contract you, it doesn't constrict you, it doesn't make it impossible for other things to be seen by you. It just, maybe it gives you a resting place, but a resting place with still openness, which ties into that. So questioning leads to openness. And it leads to inquiry, and it leads like inquiry, like self-inquiry, where you sit with yourself and question, why you behave the way you do, and why you act this way, and why you give meaning to this and that, and why you're drawn to these kind of people, and why were you triggered ultimately? Because when you experience triggers and you allow yourself to sit in inquiry, you can free not only yourself but elements of the collective, because that's what we're each here for. So it's also an interesting thing because it matters the perspective that we bring to the questioning that we are engaging in. So if we engage with a question that we're stuck on, like we're confused and we can't find the answer and we feel like we're stuck, well, then we're sort of stuck in the question, and then the solution or the answer to the question can't arise. So it's important to hold an energy of expansiveness. Like, I want to ask this, I'm asking this question because I know it's going to lead to my own expansion. Not only do I know it's going to lead to my own expansion, I know that it's going to amplify my experience here, and it's going to likely bring me into more of a soul space. And also, if it's arising within me, then it's going to serve me to sit with a question. I also think that it's imperative to pay attention to the type of questions that we're having. Just like we're paying attention to this type of space we're in so the answers can come, we're also going to pay attention to the space, or to the types of questions, to the very question we're asking, because when you ask the right questions, you get different answers, or when you ask different questions, I guess you get different answers. So by that I mean, you could always ask questions that kind of give you the easy answer, or you could really be looking for depth in your experience and depth in your understanding. So, what question, when asked, is going to take you to a deeper discovery of who you are? And when I think about the forgetting, which is the delusion, which is the pull to the matrix, the pull that sort of most of the collective is stuck under, versus the call to remembering, which is coming into knowing who we really are. Think about it from that perspective. Which questions serve which? When you think about that, ask questions that serve your remembering, because the forgetting is they're just full of nonsensical stuff, and that will just probably lead you down a rabbit hole that won't take you where you want to go. But ask questions that serve your expansion. So that's what I have to share today. I hope you liked it. And if you did, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, so next time some kind of flow comes through me. And what a nice little walk we had together. It's fun to think about. I just heard an animal over there playing, little birdies. And I do always encourage you to get outside. Be outside in nature in whatever way you can these days. Feel the sun on your face. See the trees. And notice all the little critters. You hear that little bird? Notice them all playing. And then you will line up with the questions that will take you deeper into your soul.